Welcome to another session today. I hope you are well. Today I will be talking about productivity. This is still under the theme and the banner of Men of Honor. And one of the expectations and one of the requirements to be a man of honor is that you have to produce. You do have to produce. I remember Michelangelo is noted to have said that if you be a street sweeper, that you should sweep the street so well, so beautifully, to so much excellence that even the hosts of heaven will look down and say, "That is a great street sweeper." He said, sweep the streets as though you were, Michelangelo, painting the Sistine Chapel, or you were, Beethoven, or some great artist. The point was that you should take your work seriously. You should do it to the best of your ability. We're reminded by the great saying, whatever your hands may find to do, do it with all of your might, and do it with all of your strength, and do it with all of your power. We know that in the afterlife, we will not have the opportunity to do it again. Uh, Productivity matters, and as men of honor, we have to produce. The mistake is we often, and I've been in this position myself, where I would confuse activity and being busy for productivity. Activity and productivity are not synonymous terms. You can be busy but not be productive. A lot of people work on a daily basis, but very few people really produce. In life, generally speaking, we know that we're not paid for the hour that we work, but we are paid for the value we create in the hour. Now, Jim Rohn is the one who said that. A very powerful statement, and one of the most profound things I ever heard. And as a young man working, to come across a reminder by Jim saying, "You're not paid for the hour," which is the mistake most people make. Most people think, "I'm paid £10 for an hour. I'm paid £20,000 for the whole year, divided by 200 working hours, £10 an hour." Most people think that they are paid per hour. If you want to be a man of honor and a man that produces, you must change that perspective and see yourself as someone who is paid or compensated or rewarded for the value you create in the time that you're given. You're not paid for time, you're paid for value. You're paid for what you produce. You're paid for the problems you solve. Now, the law of compensation says that you will be compensated based on three criteria. The first is the need for what you do. The second is your ability to do it very well, and for it to be almost an art form. And the third would be the difficulty that exists or is available with regards to replacing you. Now, let me go through those three again because it connects the first few comments I've made. The law of compensation states that you will be compensated for the service you provide, the value you create, but that value will be comprised and will be judged in three ways. Is there a need for what you do? Is there a difficulty in finding someone else to do the same work that you do? Now think about that. There might be a need for what you do, but if the difficulty in replacing you is too high, then it means you're rare. Now, how well do you do what you do? Good question. How well do you do what you do? According to Martin Luther King's statement, if we were to look down and look at what you do on a daily basis, would the angels, assuming they are somewhere above, look down and say, "That is a man of honor, because that is a man who takes his work very seriously, but he does it with all of his might, and with all of his strength, and with all of his power." As a man of honor, you have to learn how to be productive. The first commandment, after all, was be fruitful and multiply. An apple rarely falls far from its tree. Now we know what happened when the fig tree would not produce. It was cursed. Productivity is built in our DNA. Now here is perhaps something that I think is necessary and profound. The universe never places on your shoulders a burden that far exceeds your ability to carry. Let me say that again for emphasis. The universe, life, God, Supreme Being, whatever you choose to call it, never places on your shoulders as a man what is far beyond your ability to deal with. And what that means is that whatever is before you, there is something in you that is capable of transforming yourself by service to that task. Now we know from time immemorial, some of the questions that were asked, how can I be the greatest? Now I have found in my life, obviously there's a calling and a draw towards success. And one of the key requirements for success is, in order to be successful, or to put it in a different way, two brothers say to the master, how can we be the greatest in the kingdom? When we come to your kingdom, we want to be the greatest. And how can we be the greatest? And it was a simple response and a simple formula. If you want to be the greatest, you have to be willing to be the servant. You have to be a servant leader. Productivity is intrinsically connected, especially for a man, with being a servant leader. To be the greatest, to be successful, to be rewarded, you have to serve. To serve, you must recognize a problem. Life is about solving problems, and men of honor are those who can identify problems, come up with a solution, execute the delivery of the solution, solve the problem in a manner that allows for that problem to be one that most people want solved, to solve the problem in such a manner that it would be difficult for them to be replaced, the person solving the problem, and do it in a manner that anyone around will agree that that person is a person of value. So you have to be productive as a man. Now herein lies the difficulty. I usually start from 18 years, all the way to 35, as the key years, 18 years, that most men have to invest in order to reap the benefits of the future. You see, in life, there is a season to sow, there is a season to reap. You cannot do both at the same season. You cannot do both at the same time. There must be a moment where you sow, and there is a period in life where you can have a harvest. And there goes the saying, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Why? Because there are few people who are sowing properly and going through the phase of waiting in order to reap. I would encourage you as a man of honor to think about sacrifice as not giving up something of a higher nature, but rather giving up something of a lower nature to get something of a much higher nature. So for example, as a man, you have time. You have a brain with almost 1 billion cells. You have imagination, your intellectual faculties, memory, perception, imagination, willpower, and the ability to focus. These faculties can help you achieve any goal you want. In addition to this, you have history on your side. The teachings, the learnings, the writings, the lived experiences of people from the prior lives who have come before you, achieved success, and who you can, copy, replicate their success to help you advance towards your dream. In addition to this, you have a conscience and an intuition. A conscience that actually serves as a regulator that tells you when you're doing something right or when you're doing something wrong. Therefore, you have all the tools. In other words, you have the rules of the game and the tools of the trade to go forward and apply yourself to a problem, dedicate your life to solving a problem, but do so with humility, do so with a mindset that sees abundance, do so in a manner that you're gifting yourself to the problem. Do so without necessarily expecting a compensation from that same place. Do it well, do it right. Productivity is key as a man of honor. We start from 18, and 18 years perhaps, you're going to college. The younger you are, especially if you are academically inclined, what we call work comes in two parts. One is study. Study. You must study. You must learn. You must raise your awareness, and you do so through study. You must allow yourself to embrace knowledge, seek knowledge, pursue knowledge. Do so from people who have found success, but also do so from people who have a philosophy that is different to what you instinctively find to be closer to your philosophy of life. But read widely, let the law of large numbers work in your favor, aggregate all the knowledge so that when the time comes to application, you know what to do. You see, there is information or knowledge, there is understanding, and there is wisdom. My favorite book says that wisdom is the principal thing. But in all you're getting, get understanding. We get knowledge from study, by studying data, information, but we only move to understanding if we comprehend what we have studied. And you do so by allowing yourself to be teachable, to be coachable, to be moldable, to be a good learner, to be a servant learner. But you move from understanding towards wisdom by application. But there is an ingredient that is necessary, which is good judgment. If you want to be productive, you will need wisdom. Now, in the session I covered yesterday, which is, I said, be a student learner. Someone be open to learning. The reason for that is to get to wisdom, to know how to make the right decisions, to know how to solve problems properly. You should not rely on your intellect alone. We are not good enough as individuals. I found in my case that I suffered for many years because I was relying on my own knowledge and my lived experience. You see, my best thinking got me to where I was before I broke down in my bedroom, seeking information, and I found information. Your best thinking gets you to where you find yourself. To go to higher grounds, you're going to need to stand on the shoulders of other people. And that means you're going to have to lean on other people's wisdom. Hold on to yours, combine yours with theirs, and hopefully you have a formula for success. But productivity is the key. Now, before I close, let me share a few quotes that I came across that I thought perhaps were worthy of sharing, because these are from profound men and women and people who have said, using brevity, what I cannot say in 2 days of teaching. Let me start with the first. Now, Benjamin E. Mays said, "The tragedy in life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach." Powerful. I'll give you another one. Now, Paul Meyer says, "Productivity is never an accident. It's always the result of commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort." Peter Drucker says, "Until we manage time, we cannot manage anything." Jim Rohn, as I said before, you don't get paid for an hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Now, someone who's unknown says that time is not refundable. Use it with intention. Now, these are all productivity quotes, things to get you going. There's so many here. Now, Walt Disney, we know Walt Disney, said the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Get going. David Allen says you can do anything, but not everything. Very wise. Thomas Edison says there is no substitute for hard work. Now, I can go on and on and on. The point of this is to simply say there have been wise people who have come before you. Ernest Hemingway said, never mistake motion for action. What I said in a different way, don't mistake productivity with activity. Don't mistake being busy with being productive. Now, let me share one from Shannon Wheeler. She said, the key to productivity is to rotate your avoidance techniques. Rotate your avoidance techniques. Here's a good one. Jeff Bezos. Work hard, have fun, and make history. Men of honor are those who want to make history. You do so by what you produce. So the younger you are, if you're educationally inclined, it might be study, learning, trying to make sure you're the best that you can be in your area of discipline and area of study. But as you transition to work, and even when you are studying, don't let your hands be idle. Don't let your mind idle. Find problems to solve. Get out there. And perhaps the best thing I can share is, and this is perhaps coming from my own lived experience. Many years ago, as I said in the session I covered yesterday, I struggled for a number of years. And I always had the mindset that I needed to be compensated in order for me to do work. It's similar to the man who stands in front of the fire or the fireplace and says, well, I'll give you wood if you give me heat. It doesn't work that way. You have to give the wood first, and then the heat comes afterwards. But I found myself in the same negative mindset of thinking that I want to be compensated, and then I would work hard, and then I would be productive. It took me a while, but I came to a place where I realized that the number one thing we're asked to do as men of honor is to solve problems. And one of the duties that we have is to look around our environment and look for problems that we can solve. Sometimes look for problems that you cannot solve, but those problems inspire you to go and learn, study, so that you grow, so that you can solve the problems. You see, one of the reasons we take challenges as men of honor is because we want to see what it will make of us in pursuit of problem-solving opportunity. In other words, think about this carefully. Let's assume, and this is a classic example in my case, what I started doing is I said, fine, you know what I will do? I will give my service for free. I would solve problems for people and I would ask for nothing in return. And initially when I started, people felt that there was something hidden. They felt as though something smelled rotten in Denmark. Here is a young man who was capable, saying that he was ready to serve and to work, but he's never asking for compensation. The question was, well, what's in it? What's the catch? And this is where I think I had the most profound awakening with regards to productivity. I said you can sow, and if you sow, you reap. There is a season to sow and there's a season to reap. You don't do both in the same season, but here is perhaps what I should have also indicated to you. You don't do both always in the same soil. For a crop, if you plant a crop, you have to get the harvest in that location. But the way the universe works, if you solve problems, sometimes, and most times, the compensation doesn't come in the same season, but it doesn't come from the same soil. So if I came to you and I said, Mr. Jones, this is my competence, this is what I'm good at. I have seen in front of your house that you have some hedges and they look untidy. I'm going to arrive tomorrow at 6 a.m. and I will tidy your hedges and I will dress your garden. If that's okay, I've only come today to explain that I will be here tomorrow. So if you see me here, don't think of me as a stranger. I don't want anything in return. I believe I can do a great job for you. You show up the next day, you trim the hedges, you salt out the garden, you make it pristine and beautiful, and you leave. In doing that, what you have found is an opportunity to serve other people. Remember, if you want to be the greatest, you must be the servant. I've sown my gift to Mr. Jones. The universe, in like kind, at the right time, through the right person, will compensate me. And even if the universe doesn't, in solving a problem for him, I have given to him the law of the universe. Energy has to flow. And so for most people, we have this intellect and this ability, but we refuse to release what we have to other people, to help their lives become easier. And we are hoarding energy. No, let it flow, let it go. So the younger you are, focus on your education, but the few hours you have, go around your neighborhood, find people who you can solve their problems for. Can I wash your car? Can I clean your windows? Can I walk your dog? Can I come inside your house and do any tasks? Your area of work is often a place of preparation. It's not always your final destination. I do work for Mr. Jones, and he says thank you, and I come back the next week and I do the same work, and he says thank you, and I come back the next week and he says thank you, and by the fourth week Mr. Jones says this is not right. Mr. Jones goes to the pub and he says, I've got this young lad, seems like an educated bloke. He comes to my house every week and he tidies my hedges and he does my garden and he does it beautifully and he asks for nothing in return. And the man or the people in the pub say, well, that's strange. Who is he? What's his name? And then suddenly I've got a referral. Go to Mr. Adams, I do the same thing. Mr. Adams refers me to another person. I go to Mr. Martin, I do the same thing. What I am developing is a reputation of a man of excellence. And one day, a call comes. The call says, I have heard you've helped Mr. Jones, Mr. Martin, and you've helped other people in your local area. I have a job for you. I will pay you X pounds per hour if you can do ABC. My compensation has not come from Mr. Jones or Mr. Martin. My compensation has come from above. The younger you are, education, dedicate your hands to tasks. Let your hand not be idle. The older you are, once you've gone past education, you must work with intention, with focus, and you must work smartly. Remember, you're not paid for the hour, you're paid for the value you create in the hour. So the point being, mastery and excellence should be the watchword. Think about what you're doing and ask yourself every day, how can I improve what I do consistently? Constant and never-ending growth and improvement in your task. Whatever your hands find to do it with all of your might, with all of your strength, and with all of your power. Clean the streets so well that a host of heavens will look down and say, that is a great street sweeper. I'll end with the following. It would be amazing and wonderful if people said, James must have been to your garden. Or people said, Esther must have visited. Why? Because they can see the fruits of your labor. Your tasks are done so well that no one compares to you. As a man of honor, productivity is not optional. It's something we must embrace. It's something we must enjoy. And it's something we must dedicate our lives to. I hope today's session has been useful.